All right, here we go.
Hey, what's up? This is Flex Wheeler, and we have another current edition of Flex for Life with my main man. Got Greg over there. What's up, G? It's been a while, bro. I haven't seen you. I've been all over the place.
You're back in the country. It's a good thing.
Yeah, until
About to
tomorrow.
leave
I'm off
tomorrow.
again. Yeah, definitely. But we're gonna talk about a conversation. It's an incredibly hot topic amongst men, and it's the quote unquote low T. And you got some interesting feed that kind of backs up what I've been saying for a long time. So let's get into it.
Yeah, we're not talking low test in older men that have gone through the aging process.
No.
We're talking about declining levels in men on average for the past 20 plus years. So there's a couple articles we brought up, and this isn't even, fitness related stuff. This was
It's
recorded in
men, period.
Reuters
Yeah.
and in health magazines. So basically we've seen, they are finding there has been a generational decline in testosterone levels in men. And they looked at it and they found that Gen Z, right now, Gen Z would be anyone from the age of 13 to 28, have a 20% lower testosterone level on average than generations prior. And it's only gotten worse. In one study, they found that since the 80s, there has been a 1% decline on average per year in testosterone levels in men.
Yeah. I don't remember where I don't remember where I heard it. But it was over 20 years ago that every generation of men is a weaker version of that man. And I just remember like the feats that men did, back in like the 1900s, building skyscrapers with no grid underneath them, with no, secure line, eating their lunch hanging over freaking, a couple of 100 feet in the air, just sitting there eating and getting up and walking. And I was like, average man couldn't do that. I mean, even now they have all these safety equipments, but it's really interesting that I kind of had this thought that every generation of men is a weaker version of that man. And now they're actually coming out with studies to prove me right. So, man, it's the
There you
dirt off
go.
my shoulder. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not saying safety measures are a bad thing, but I mean, if you just look at what our grandfathers did, well, they were considered the greatest generation, right, during World War
Yeah.
II.
Yeah.
Or my forefathers, my ancestors, they were, I mean, I talk about the 442nd, the 100th all the time, but they were on average 5'2", 125-pound second generation Japanese men that were literally feared by the Italians and the German soldiers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
those are the ones they would send in when no one else was able to get the job done.
Yeah. 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 And shot on, pat on the back. Same thing with the Tuskegee, airmen. They were the guys who went in there first, and history has kind of forgot about them. And you go even farther back to like the Buffalo Soldiers, where the Indians called the black guys buffaloes because of their hair, but they're the ones who went in there and did the damage and went in and did the fighting before the quote unquote cavalry came and saved the day. Don't want to piss nobody off racially, but history is history, man.
Well, even the Navajo code talkers, they still to this, it didn't cut it until they declassified their codes. No one was able to break them,
Yeah.
and they turned the tide in the Pacific War.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
things that, I mean, I know it was a speech in one of the TV shows, but in the 40s, 50s, the greatest generation, we built ungodly things. We discovered amazing things, and we cultivated the best arts and entertainment on top of it all.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it was amazing. Just, again, I haven't traveled those countries in so long, but traveling through Bulgaria, each day I was on an average of 3 to 4 hours in a car and just sitting and looking at the infrastructure, and then getting over to Greece. I didn't get a chance when I was in Thessaloniki to go to the Mount Olympus.
Oh, you
Just didn't
didn't?
have time. I didn't have time.
Oh, that's
But when I got to Greece, I was able to, see what is it called again? What's
the
the name of
Coliseum.
it? No, it's starts with an A. God dang it! That picture I sent you, that video.
Oh, shoot.
Jeez, can't think of the name of it. God dang it. but
We'll
it was
probably talk
right.
about it in the next episode.
Yeah, but it was right outside my window of my hotel, and I was just like, we don't have the technology to build that. How did they get the material way up on these mountains? And everything back then in those centuries are so massive. You know, the pyramids, you know, the Greek buildings, the Roman buildings are so massive. They're worth, you know, and it was perfectly, you know, built. It's some of those things are still standing now, you know. So yeah, all these kind of, you know, it's almost like my training, you know, the way I thought about training. I couldn't really explain it, but now all these things are coming out and backing out, you know, backing up a lot of the things that I was saying back then about my training philosophy and all that stuff. But no, it's just a matter of fact. And you know, we can see it in our men now, you know, the generation of our kids, that they're just a weaker version. I think it's always been like that. I've always known that my father's generation was so much stronger than I was, just the things that they had to endure, you know, and the things that they did. So that's been so obvious, but it's interesting that research is finally catching up.
Now, to clarify, we are saying on average, so not every single male is
Yeah,
weaker than.
yeah,
So there are some
yeah.
weak males in every generation as well.
Of course. But on average, it's getting more. That's the percentage is going up.
Now, some of the reasons they talked about though was obviously um, things you would think of like poor diets, environmental factors, but some of the other things that kind of piqued my interest was the fact that our current lifestyle is a lot more sedentary than it was even one generation ago. You know, where go back to, I know you went straight into the workforce, but for college back in the 90s, we had to go. Do you remember the Dewey Decimal System when you did research in the
Yes,
libraries? We
yes,
literally had to go to the library, right?
yeah,
So we had to get up off our butts out of our dorm
yeah,
or whatever, go to one level, pull out a cue card to figure out where this book we need
yeah,
is in the 10-story library, and then go find the book.
yeah,
Whereas now, here's my library.
yeah. I mean, it's strange, you know, the iPhone or you know any smartphone is the power of supercomputers years and years ago. Those massive rooms of those massive supercomputers, our phone can defeat those and more powerful than those was. I don't know if it was true or not, but it was like, you know, our technology and our phones now are stronger than the technology that sent the first rocket on the moon.
Yeah.
You know, it's just our phones are more powerful than that technology. But no, it's I also think, Greg, there was less processed foods back then.
That was
You know,
one of the things they talked about.
yeah, it was less processed foods. The foods that we get now, and there's been so many different, you know, discussions on the various things that make our food accessible and last a lot longer, are actually harming us in the long term. I remember my mother had, you know, a backyard of just, you know, all the freaking, you know, fruits and all the vegetables and all that stuff. And, you know, I even, if I'm not mistaken, I even remember that McDonald's food wasn't that bad when it first came out. But I think, you know, because the world is such a massive place and there's so many more people on the earth that they have to come up with these various different ways of having quick food and then also food that can sustain and be on in the shelf for a lot longer.
And cheap.
Yeah, well, no, cheaply made, but more
Right.
expensive. Definitely more expensive.
Well, everybody wants cheap though, but
Yeah.
no, it's yeah, and another thing that came out, and I'm sure you're gonna have a field day with this one, but for some odd reason, the later generations, Gen Z, millennials, are having less sex in general
Hmm.
and are reproducing a lot less. And you're seeing a
Hmm.
lot of those reports, right? Our reproduction rate as a nation, especially in the United States, has dropped precipitously. They give a
Well,
lot of specific reasons, and you know this might be one of the reasons why. But people are holding off because of personal reasons. They don't want to bring a child into the world as it is right now, or it's too expensive. But they did link research into. There was another one they linked into this: having sex or going into your sexuality actually helps bolster testosterone levels in men.
Yeah.
To the point where even going to a gentleman's club, they found a 20% increase in testosterone production for 24 hours following.
Jeez.
Yeah, who got lucky enough to become one of those?
Yeah, yeah. Who are doing those studies, man? Good grief.
It wasn't me.
Yeah.
Out there.
You know, that's interesting, but I also think the venereal diseases that are out there now are so much more powerful. I think that scared a lot of people also into going into abstinence. You know, obviously from like, I think, when was it, the flower child hippie days?
60s
Yeah,
and 70s.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure back in those days they were like mad wild, you know.
Their test levels were fine.
Gosh, yeah. But that's interesting. I wasn't aware of that.
That was one of the things they threw in there, and that's where I'm kind of. This is where you can stop me on this one if I go too far on this one, but I'm sure there's a good percentage of the males specifically that are not engaging in sexual activity, not out of not wanting to, but not having opportunity. Let's put it that way. One of the things that I thought about that did not come up in this study, but I had a personal training facility in a very affluent area of the Bay Area. It's called Los Altos, where the average median income is $700,000 a year. So that means, but there's handfuls of billionaires that live out there.
Yeah, yeah. That's where Stanford is, right?
Yep. Well, Palo Alto, Mountain
Palo
View,
Alto.
that area.
Yeah.
What I saw, what I'm seeing as a result of the .com industry is basically, if you remember the movie Revenge of the Nerds, they got their revenge, basically. Everything that they said that would happen is happening. So you're getting all these smart guys that are becoming millionaires and billionaires because they're smart enough to come up with these kind of things. And I saw it all the time. You got a guy that in the real world you would think would never get laid if he had a bill full of or handful of hundreds and he's at the Bunny Ranch.
Achilles. No. Yep. Sorry.
But they're getting married to some very good-looking women out in the Bay Area because of, I'm going to say they got money.
Yeah, of course.
And they're in a situation. But the thing is, you can't mess with genetics. You can't mess with Mother Nature. And I've seen their kids. I've tried to train their kids. I was more worried about them being able to walk from the parking lot into the building without breaking a bone and falling over.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if a little bit of that, so money plays a part. And I have an issue with fertility treatments in general, not for someone who, let's say, goes through a traumatic situation. Like I did have two friends that went through fertility treatment, and specifically because the mother or the wife, she was diagnosed with several forms of cancer prior to them beginning their marriage. So they went through the whole in vitro thing where they took her eggs out prior to that.
Right.
And then they did some things after, or a situation with, let's say, a bodybuilder. I'm sure plenty of them have the situation where they, because of sports technology, they had to go and fix things. Afterwards.
Yeah. That's how I had Darius.
Everything is normal
through in vitro.
Yeah. I'm talking about the ones who were all things considered are normal, but basically they can't conceive.
Yeah.
As a scientist, to me, that's Mother Nature telling you, we don't want you to conceive. There's a reason why you should not have a baby. Because I don't want you pissing in the gene pool any more than you already have.
Wow, that is deep, dude. That is that is wild.
I have a personal situation where I knew a couple. The mother was, they're both very intelligent people, very good people, with unlimited resources. The mother was a two-sport scholarship athlete at Stanford. So probably what you would consider, high value female, whatever. The husband, she said, 20 years prior to this, he's someone I would have beat up in high school and teased on a regular basis. They could not conceive for a number of years. They went into fertility treatments. And the first couple of times, there were severe abnormalities when they did finally conceive.
Wow.
So there's some genetic issues going on. Basically, that was Mother Nature telling them, this probably is not in the cards for you. Now, finally, they hit a home run and got the lottery ticket, but things came out relatively normal after that. but without unlimited resources, I'm talking they're billionaires. Without unlimited resources, that never would have happened for the general public, right?
Right.
So I'm wondering if you got that situation. I mean, what happens when you have too much inbreeding with puppies? You have genetic abnormalities, and
Yeah.
after a while, Mother Nature makes them so messed up that they can't conceive anymore and keep going along with that.
I don't know. I mean, you have a point, and that point, what I see is everything happens for a reason. And in my beliefs, we have choices, but things are meant to happen that happen. And even the worst things that you can imagine, they're meant to happen for a greater cause. So possibly, in that way. But I never really looked at it that way. That's an interesting insight that you have there.
Well,
I'm sure some people will be pretty fired up and pissed
I'm
over
sure
that.
you know who they are, though.
Uh,
But I mean, when it all comes down to it, I guess today's topic is, I mean, it's there, it's happening, it's documented. What are the effects of this? So, I mean, what do you think is going to happen with the current generations? I mean, we, as coaches, trying to get people fit, you have an abnormally low level of testosterone. I mean, let's say their father was at 600 or so, and they're 20% lower than him. That puts them at about 480 or so. And so we're
yeah,
really starting to skim, hypogonadal. So
yeah,
what's going to happen? Are we going to be able to not? Are we going to be able to make them look like Jeremy Buendia on the beach in board shorts? But are we even going to be able to work with them at all for the most part? I mean, or are we going to be spinning our wheels? Or what if they try to? If they're a 17-year-old, they try out for the track team at their local high school.
yeah. No, I mean, well, men are on percentage of men are becoming less of men, but technology is vastly catching up and being able to help with that. And for instance, the company that we're involved with, we have a number of different peptides that can assist and bring their testosterone back up to a level. So it's really interesting that this is happening, but also it's really odd that technology is right there. So we're part of, primemd.com. And we have a number of different agents that can assist with that. So I would advise them, if it's not the company that we represent, I advise them go and seek out, because there is help out there. And
No,
I know
seek
you
out our
have a
company. Seek
yeah,
out our
yeah.
company. The ticker's right there. Prime Open. Don't go to any other company. Sorry. Flex did not say that.
Let's not say that. Oh gosh. But why don't you give like a little bit of insight on some various different peptides that can be used to help?
Well, there's a lot of some of the peptides that have been linked to testosterone production, like BPC 147, PT 141.
Yeah,
Now it's all preliminary. A lot of it's preliminary research at this
of
point, not a
course.
whole lot of human experimentation because you really can't do a whole lot of
Yeah,
human
but in
experimentation.
our world, we know their work,
Right.
and they've been out for at least 10 years now,
Oh, yeah.
that people have been using them. And the thing about it is, unless you're having a doctor prescribe you a TRT, which we have that
Which we can do
also.
that too.
Yeah, we also have that on our website. It's a route that you can go that you don't have to take a, how could I put it? Take a drug basically, and have that drug turn your system off, which your system obviously isn't working properly anyway, and that's the reason why it's not producing. But some of these peptides will actually help your own natural system just kick in gear and be more active. So you have choices now, and like I said, it's really really odd that this is happening, and it's been happening since I think the beginning of time, that men are beginning to be being weaker and weaker, but technology is now has caught up, and it can assist with that.
Well, I mean, we realize that can be a little bit scary going that whole peptide TRT route, even though everything we do is prescribed by a
Sure.
physician that we have a whole network of. Another option, and they actually did speak about this, controlling your diet and controlling your, your environment, that kind of thing. But one of the things, another ticker that's going across Flex Wheeler Nation, we have a coaching program that delves into exercise, if done correctly, will actually boost testosterone.
Right.
Diet, controlling that situation. I know one of the things they went into was the proliferation of the low fat, low cholesterol, demonizing cholesterol situation in the 80s and 90s. And what are the building blocks of all of our sex hormones? Cholesterol and fat.
Yeah.
You go and take those out of our diet, and now it is recommended 0.8 to 1.0 grams of fat and cholesterol per kilogram of body weight, which should be about 20% of your diet.
Yeah.
So what we could do with this one, with Flex Wheeler Nation, is we have our coaching programs have an entire nutritional aspect that we can start to help program that back into it.
Yeah.
And then,
you're right. You're right. It's been proven that actually exercising increases your testosterone level, and then obviously there's a number of superfoods that can help increase your testosterone also. So you're definitely right. There is a natural way that you can go about that.
I know that most parents are probably not going to want to put their 15, 16, 17-year-old, 18-year-old, even
Peptides
21-year-old
right.
on much. So you can start there and see what happens, and obviously
Yeah.
get tested.
Yeah.
But that was one of the things I brought up was our society has become very sedentary at this point where, we don't even have to, I'm working from home now, where I used to have to actually drive in. I was at academies or gyms for the longest time. And now, I have a 4-year-old car with only 30,000 miles on it.
Yeah. I know my Tesla, if it's not going to the gym, it just sits there and I think I'm leasing it, and I think I'm allowed like 1,300 miles, and it's 2 years old, and it barely has 1,300 miles on it.
Oh,
So yeah.
but one
Yeah.
of the
But
I know people don't take the physical fitness appearance side as seriously as you and I might, even outside of competition. But one of the things I noticed, and we're going to make this as apolitical as possible, but a report came out about ICE, so Immigration and Customs Enforcement. They're doing a really huge ramp up on work on hiring as many ICE agents as possible nationwide. They're finding that a third are not able to complete the personal physical fitness standards required for graduation. And for ICE specifically, it's 15 push-ups, 32 sit-ups, and to complete a 1.5 mile run in under 14 minutes.
yeah, that that doesn't really surprise me, because normally in law enforcement, you have a certain type of men who want to do that. And normally they have a degree of athleticism, or just drive and determination, or just natural health and fitness. And I think when you, like they're trying to do with ICE, when you're trying to ramp up and get so many people as fast as possible and open that gateway, you have a lot of people who just are not qualified to do that. And I think that's the reason why, this massive problem is going on, with ICE, because they're basically saying they'll take anyone, but they have these very, very low standards. And what's kind of scary is this is a federal agency, not a local agency. This is a federal agency, and this is how low their standards are. And that many people that can't pass it is really scary. But then again, it kind of just also gives you an ideal of how many people are just not in shape, that are here in the country.
And now with this report, with our initial argument, they're at a disadvantage hormonally to begin with, which that specific hormone plays a huge role in athleticism.
Yeah.
But I know they've altered a few things, but initially, they've lowered their applicant minimum age to 18. So you can't say it's, they're too old right now. I guess it's 18 to 40 is the age requirements to enroll, but they are also allowing people lateral over from other agencies. But a little bit of a scary thought considering, with the big beautiful bill being passed, the Department of Homeland Security has a larger budget than the German military. currently.
Yeah.
So what are we going to get out of the prospect at this point if we're sending a bunch of hypogonadal males as a country into these situations?
And that, I think, what that causes is men to have to get way more physical than necessary because they're not comfortable with their physicality in the first place. And when they have the ability to use lethal force or aggressive force, they'll immediately go to that because they know they're not capable of handling a situation civilly with a person. Yeah, that's scary. Scary.
And I mean, physical effects of low testosterone, you obviously got reduced muscle mass and strength, which the muscle mass you can get around. You don't need I mean, Ronnie probably had a little bit of a disadvantage being so big on actual performance. Which he probably just intimidated the shit out of everybody instead.
Yeah, he did.
Decreased bone density, so now you're looking at injury issues long term, right? Which will
Yeah.
factor in.
Yeah.
Increased body fat. Don't need to feed into the fat cop narrative more than we already have.
Yeah.
Fatigue and low energy levels. That goes right into job
Yeah.
performance.
Mental
Anemia.
also. Yeah.
Right?
Also mental.
That was I was getting to that part. They went to mental and emotional effects, including depression and mood swings,
Yeah.
anxiety, irritability,
Yeah.
obviously low libido, erectile
Yeah.
dysfunction. So, it's just not a good situation overall. Now, we're not even just talking about these potential ICE agents. We're talking about the general population of men.
Yeah. 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 And again, when you have a person who is the capacity of an agent, an officer or a federal agent, and you have these handicaps, what you immediately will go to is over, over being aggressive, or immediately go into your weapon because you know that you can't physically handle a person or even mentally capable of handle a person because you know your weaknesses, and not to mention if there's some problems with you performing in a bedroom, that immediately just causes such a trauma of anger, and now
Mhm.
you have the ability to go and take that out on other people. Yeah, it's not it's not a good combination of what's going to happen, the outcome.
Obvious use of force issues are going to follow as well. And then
Yeah.
just your ability to let's take all that out of the equation. Just your ability to live your life to the fullest.
Yeah.
You add in all those factors. Even if you take out the ICE guys and the
Yeah.
law enforcement officers,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, then you have some problems.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we're seeing that in this generation where they're not driven, don't want to work, feel entitled, and it's sad because you never want to compare your generation to your children's generation, but you almost have to, because that's where you came from. You want them to have good core values and stuff like that. And now we're finding that there's actually studies it's more mental and physical than it is anything else. Where we're like, just man up, and they're like, only to a degree I can, man up.
It's kind of so. I guess what are the
It's a slippery slope, man. It's not good. It's not good. And I think, as we've seen in the last 10 years, there's going to be a lot more different options for men to help balance that out. It's I think it's just going to go crazy.
so what is the what would your answer be? I mean, obviously you don't want to put like kids my girls age range. Well, they're not having those issues, but you know
Yeah,
that generation, that
yours are high.
generation with their teens and early 20s. I mean, my answer would be what we did was make sure that they have the
Yeah,
proper building blocks, like food wise.
yeah, yeah,
Um, the phone thing, that's gonna be technology. That's gonna be a hard one for anybody to get around because it's how they do their school too. But
yeah.
my biggest
Well,
thing
I
was
mean,
they're working out, they're eating properly, they're
yeah.
playing sports, and they're around people.
Yeah. No, and that's the big thing. And that's what, unfortunately, I even hate to use the word COVID because it's all a sham, and that's came out now. But that's why people don't have to go into buildings. It's been proven that people didn't have to go into to work. But also,
Yeah,
it created this. narrative where kids can talk to each other without having to look at each other. And that's created that. And I think from that generation has grown up now, that's a major handicap. But, and my answer with that would be first and foremost, nutrition. Secondly, just vitamins and minerals. There's a lot of vitamins and minerals that can help you also in those deficiencies. And if that didn't work, then I advise them to definitely go seek some type of medical help, because at the end of the day, it's quality of life, and they're not going to have a good quality of life.
Yeah, it's unfortunately, I think that's on a lot of senses that's easier said than done, because you and I that's our business.
Yeah.
So applying that to our kids is a little bit easier than someone who works in mortgages or banking or computers, or
Yeah.
even construction workers, blue collar guys and gals.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. But yes and no, because I mean, like I said, many times they've poured so much money into advertising and getting the word out about low T. It's not hidden anymore. It's very, very well known. And, unfortunately, when I was coming up, you didn't hear about these things. There was no internet. And now it's all over the place. So if you don't, know anything about this, it's almost your fault, from just having your head ducked in the sand, because it's out there. It's obvious.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there you have it. Another episode of Flex
Oh, we got one
Relax.
more thing.
Oh,
Our
snap.
our personal topic of the day. Now, this one, we both saw this video on different
Oh, yeah, yeah,
situations,
yeah, 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 yeah,
but
yeah.
this one angered me to a high extent to where I wanted to throw my phone watching it, just because, not because it happened, because people do stupid things all the time, but because it was almost celebrated. But we'll let you kind of see what I mean when we watch this video.
Been circulating, check it out. At first glance, I was like, look at this badass mama getting a workout with the baby on her back. She's going slow and controlled. She knows her limits. This is relatively low risk. And then I found out it's her grandbaby on her back. Just incredible.
You know what I find out immediately is the person who's talking about it. It's very low risk. She knows her limits. I mean, the baby is full at risk. You can completely lose your balance. She's stepping up with forces going back against her, and even if she slips, it's going to be pretty. There's going to be some great. It's not going to be good for the baby whatsoever.
And the funny part is, the woman speaking, that's her page. She is a doctor of physical therapy. But she's a CrossFitter, and I always maintain that CrossFitters are crazy fucking idiots that need to be. There's a good reason why the industry has gone out of business. But no, there's a couple issues coming as a former business owner on the gym side of things. There's a reason why we have those rules in place, like footwear, or the fact that kids under the age of certain level, typically 13 or 12, are not allowed on the gym floor for liability purposes.
Yeah.
Because you and I both have motorcycle licenses. What did they say in those safety classes? It's not, we're not worried about you, we're worried about the other idiots out there.
Yeah.
Or something can always happen. You could be the best rider in the world, but you can hit something. Something can hit you. There could be mechanical issues.
Yeah.
So one little issue, the woman was in her later years. If something were to happen just from a business owner point of view, there are liability issues there that will not be covered by your insurance. Now, something similar happened to me when the first company that I owned, where we first met. You met my business partner. He's an idiot. He allowed one of his friends to come inside. His kids are playing on the weight room floor. One of the kids decides he's going to pull a 25-pound plate off a rack, dropped it onto his foot. It landed straight on his foot, broke his foot in half almost. The indentation where the 25 hit. Luckily, the father took it as it was his fault. He should have paid attention. Legally, our attorney was like, you realize he could have sued you guys and owned everything you have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you did not enforce the policy terms that were in place, which said no kids.
Yeah.
So your insurance would say, screw you, you're on your own.
Yeah, when I first seen that video, I was like, is this even real? Because I'm like, who would allow this? What gym would allow it to
CrossFit
even
gyms.
do that? Jeez.
That's not the first time I've seen. So I saw another one where the guy had a baby carrier in front, doing a rowing machine and then doing push presses with the bar.
Yeah. Man, I guess it's really hard to find qualified babysitters out there these days.
Well, that's another thing. That's another thing. CrossFit boxes typically don't have kids clubs, so that's out of the question. But I heard a lot of, I mean, if you go to her comments, most of the comments were praising, and other people who had said this is a liability issue. Well, then you should not live life. One guy said that's a carriage that's built for hiking. That's not hiking though. She's not
Yeah.
hiking. She's not in a situation where you could sue the mountain for tripping over it.
Yeah.
Or don't ever go driving. There are safety parameters in place by the DMV, by the National Transportation Safety Bureau to keep people safe, even though knowing things could happen.
Yeah.
Different situations. You are comparing apples to oranges, you fucknut. I
You
literally,
already eat it.
if
You
I could have
already eat
legally
it.
strangled any of those commenters on there, I know they're all CrossFitters, so they're mentally disabled. But I would have. But I mean, we can. I think pretty much any other parent out there can agree that that was not the best decision. Just like you don't, if you didn't allow Pearl to go run on the field when Darius was playing football.
Yeah, right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
My rant's
Yeah.
over.
That's it can almost be like child endangerment, lawsuit, because that is child endangerment to even have a kid in a weight room like that and doing those exercises. I mean, yeah, I mean that just popped in my head. That's child endangerment if you want to
That's
look
a
at
good
it.
point, because we've
Yeah.
both been divorced and we've gone through the whole custody thing, and that would have been brought up if we would have done anything like that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. But yeah, I could tell you really agitated over that one.
I probably will be during the next recording too. I'll still be thinking about it.
But speaking of recordings, you guys, thank you again. That's another episode of Flex for Life with my hothead co-host Greg over there. Until next time.